the Varsity Voices podcast, where every week we bring you the inside information and insight on Chicago Catholic League football. Make sure you subscribe, follow, and like us on wherever you're listening from. You can find us on X, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search for the Varsity Voices Chicago Catholic League. Feel free to leave us a comment or email us too at varsityvoices312@gmail.com. I'm Joe Frevaletti, and here with me is my co-host, Dan Frevaletti. And Dan, how close are we to the start of the season?
So close you can feel it, right? You start to smell it in the air, I think.
Smell it in the air. Too bad, this week it's going to be 98 degrees and 100 degrees for 3 days, because I was really feeling it.
Yeah, and it while it kind of brings your mojo down, it also causes a problem for a lot of those schools that don't have indoor facilities available to practice, right? Everyone is kicking off their seasons for fall sports. So you've got volleyball, you've got several things going on inside, and if you've got to have 2 or 3 teams trying to find a place to practice, I don't think they're going to be allowed to be outside.
You're probably right.
Yeah, there's rules now that and I remember it last year being affected by that same week 1. So we were trying to find time to practice, and because of the heat and certain indexes and levels that are reached, the trainers have the power this week, and they can say, you got to wait, or you got to go no shoulder pads and pads, football pants. So it causes all kinds of problems.
Yeah, how many head coaches this week are kicking the water cooler, looking at the weather forecast, right? And like, gosh darn it, any other week, fine.
Yeah.
Week 1, no.
Yeah, this past week would have been perfect. Bring on the heat, right? They were all off or doing something, or at least over the weekend. Have it be over the weekend, where they weren't necessarily practicing. I know a lot of teams played scrimmages this weekend, so that's interesting. It was beautiful Friday night. It was perfect.
Yeah,
Friday and Saturday. So yeah.
And you went out to scrimmage, right?
I did. I saw Bennett and Marmion. It was good. I wanted to, as much as just seeing the teams, I wanted to see how it looked. And I know there were some strict guidelines that had to be followed. As far as types of plays, no live special teams. Kind of almost felt like a 7-on-7 scrimmage. You do 10 to 12 plays, one team at a time. So one team's on offense. If they score 12 times, they run 12 plays. So there's no transition. But they drive the ball, they move the football. They had officials out there, so it was. I think teams got what they wanted out of it. At least the one people I talked to. Other than the one I went to, I think they got something out of it. They were able to get something on film that was competitive. I know not everyone did it. I stopped at a couple of schools where they were doing their traditional, green-white game or whatever it might be, and introducing all the fall sports, which is also great. There was some cool atmospheres out there for that Friday night before the season starts. So yeah, it was good to see. It definitely helped get the juices flowing.
Yeah, and which of the coaches, might have been 1 or 2, maybe more, who said, a lot of teams, they feel like they make their most progress between week 1 and week 2 games. Yeah. Right?
I know Coach New said that.
Coach New said that. I was thinking maybe Coach Guerra said that too from Marmion, and that was a scrimmage. But, so that's a big benefit there if you play one of those practice games, I think.
Yeah, because, you're getting great effort. You're not getting anyone who is, this is just another practice, or they might tweak an ankle and be, not practice. But you could tell both teams were pretty geared up and getting after it a little bit.
Yeah. So not only week 1 kickoff, but week 1 of Let's Go! Yeah, we've got the Friday Night Blitz our inaugural Friday Night Blitz segment coming up on next Friday.
Yeah,
this coming Friday.
Be this coming Friday. We are less than 7 days away. So as we record this, and it's going to be really exciting. We still have room for people who want to get in and be correspondents. Get on board.
Nothing but room. Come on. Yeah.
Get on board. And I know you've got some response. We do have a couple correspondents lined up. It'll be great to see, what games we can watch and comment on, and we're going to need some correspondents to help fill in the gaps, bring us some highlights, let us know what happened, how things happened, how it went down, wins or loss, tough calls, whatever it might be, so get in the chat, get on the podcast. So Friday Night Blitz, we are right there. And ready for anyone who's willing to chime in.
Yeah, if you want to chime in, make sure you reach out to us. We'll also, there'll be a live link posted out there for people to be able to join and chat or leave something in the chat. We'd love to have more correspondence, but, even if we don't get as many as we want, Dan, you and I are going to have 12 monitors going each.
Yes, our internets. If there was a dial that could test our internet on Friday night, like it does your electricity, it would be spinning like a top. Yes. Right? We're gonna bog down Xfinity and whoever you might use as a carrier. We're gonna drag that sucker down
for sure. Our houses will be, if you're looking at us from satellite, they will be pulsating red. Right? Because that's how much energy we're going to be using.
Yes.
And you know what? We're going to be giving off that much energy too, Dan. So,
For sure. And remember, we're not going to do it from the start of all the kickoffs. So we're going to let the games breathe a little bit. We're going to watch and see how things are going, and some games may be better than others and might command more of our attention. So it'll be good to watch it play out and see how we go. And then we can come on and, maybe the second half of games, probably around 9:00-ish, and report on what we've seen, report on what any correspondents may have said. We'll be live. So that at that point, people can be talking to us and chatting with us live. So we'll be able to do that and then recap the scores and any information we might have when it finishes.
Right. But before we come on, say 9:00 live, we will on, X, on our X site, Varsity Voices, on Facebook, Instagram. We'll be, when the game starts 7:30, which is most of the start times, we'll be watching. We'll be watching the games, and we'll give people updates on X and Facebook and Instagram too prior to us going live. So we're going to try and bring you all the information you could possibly want for Friday Night Football.
Right.
In the CCL.
What color would data be flowing through the houses? The data color. That would be color. Like black and white ones and zeros just bombarding our homes. Yeah. In video
right.
format.
We are all about the bytes, the zeros and ones. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Dan. So we wanted to talk about the different divisions, right, in this episode, and we will cover 3 of the divisions: the white, red, and purple. And not this deep dive into all the details of the different divisions, but really just taking a look at the teams in the different divisions, key players to watch, that are out there right now before the start of the season, some, players to keep your eye on, and then also, like we like to do our predictions, right? So
yes, we want to get people angry right away.
We want to piss
every
people
episode
off immediately.
We want to be an irritant right away.
Yeah, because we found that's what makes people come back and listen.
Yeah.
Right?
And we didn't talk about this. We did not share who our picks are for the divisions, or, we didn't go through and say, let's break it up and do this or that. So what you say will be a surprise to me and vice versa.
Right. And, Like I say, we say at the beginning of the episodes, feel free to comment or send us an email. I have a feeling maybe after this one, Dan, we're going to get a lot more comments and emails saying you guys suck.
Yes, yeah, you guys suck is always right around the corner.
Yeah. So let's do it, right?
All right.
Let's talk about it. What division you want to start with? Where do you want to go first? You want to go white? You want to go red? You want to go purple, blue? You tell me.
Which one do you think, Joe, will be the most interesting division within the Catholic League because of maybe the teams, the level of talent, the combination of both, and how competitive it might be? Which one do you think fits that bill?
For all those things you just mentioned, the one division I really am looking at this year that I think is going to be really interesting is a white division. What do you think about that?
I'm right with you. When we both do a little work prior to this, and we've gone through. We've talked to a lot of coaches. We've read everything that's out there. Looked at key players returning, and I'm with you. I think the white division might be the the most interesting one for this season.
Yeah, I mean, you've got St. Lawrence, right? Last year in the state final game.
Yep.
You've got Montini, who semifinals last year, 3A, right?
Yeah.
You've got Carmel, last year Purple Division champs, 5A quarterfinals last year. And then you've got Fenwick, who's got some, real, key players, top players returning, looking to get back into the postseason, after missing last year. But, this division has got interesting written all over it. Dan.
Yeah, and tough, and I don't think we're going to have, well, I'd be interested to see what the records are of the division winners. I'll be interested to follow that because I think you're going to have some teams in this division, maybe more so than some of the others that really beat one another up. And I know some divisions had ties last year and that sort of thing, but I think you could have division winners that, they could be 6-3,
right,
and
for sure.
And so that does make it more interesting. I know it will probably drive the coaches crazy, but that's the kind of league it is. We've said it in every episode. It is really tough, and I don't know about you, but looking at the talent within not only this division but all the divisions, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
It is crazy, crazy talented division.
The Chicago Catholic League is going to be, lights out.
Yeah,
I think
it's great
this year,
football
as far as state of Illinois. But St. Lawrence, Dan, one of the teams in the white division. The one thing about them, obviously, they're going to be extremely talented again, I'm sure. Yeah. They were in the state finals last year. They do have to replace a lot of players from last year's team. But, one thing that's a big benefit to them, they got a transfer quarterback from Indiana who came in. I think his name is Chase Kwiatkowski. He's an Illinois State commit. He's kind of a wild card out there, right? Because nobody really knows who he is. They know what he's done in Indiana, but coming to here and coming to the Chicago Catholic League in St. Lawrence, it'll be interesting to see how he plays this year.
Yeah, and he's not a returning quarterback, but he is someone who's experienced, right? Obviously, good enough to earn a scholarship to Illinois State. I'm always interested in, and I know you're big into this too, returners and how many returning, players they have, starters they have, all conference team members they have. You look at Montini, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 returning all division players.
Right.
And, and that doesn't include a returning quarterback. And we talked to coach, and they've got another great athlete that's a transfer quarterback there as well. So they've got a great group coming back, and Carmel, has exciting players all over. A couple great returners, exciting sophomore quarterback, one of the very highly recruited. Got offers all over already, and you watch film of Trey Taylor, and he doesn't look like a freshman when you watch film on him last year. He does not look like a freshman in any way, shape, or form. He played at a high level, showed poise, showed savvy, awareness in the pocket, good presence. So this division is just going to be crazy good. And then Nate Marshall at Fenwick is just an absolute game wrecker, for whoever he plays. Could really beat you by himself because he can cause so many problems on the defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, you just rattled off, a bunch of players who are going to be really key for all of these teams this year. You've got St. Lawrence, Jace Chamberlain, their defensive end. You got Kyle Richardson, the tight end and linebacker, both returning all-conference players who are going to be relied on. You mentioned Montini. One of the players that you and I both said after interviewing Coach Bukowski, who we really can't wait to see play, is Santino Florio, right?
Yeah.
The wide receiver. Coach Bukowski had great things to say about him and what his expectations are for this year. The quarterback, Gaetano Carbonara, he's got another year under his belt. So he's, hopefully coming back bigger and better than last year, as well as some of their returning all-conference players like Nick Iran. I promise I can talk. Their linebacker, Nick Costello, their defensive lineman, Carmel, the co-MVP of the Purple Division last year, Donovan Day, the running back, and Coach McKee's son, Jordan McKee, all conference last year, defensive back coming back. And then you mentioned Nate Marshall. So, and Joe, Jack Paris. Yeah,
right.
So,
and how about St. Lawrence, and when going back to our interview with St. Lawrence's coach, God, all the names are running through my head. The Rolodex is flipping. But the Harley Riz, the running back,
Riz, yes.
He was a sprint champion, got some time last year, but is ready to be the main ball carrier this year, and he could be exciting from the get go. So a lot of great players.
Yeah, we asked Coach, how do you replace running back Aaron Ball, right? From St. Lawrence, who just had an outstanding year last year. I forget where he's going to college, but he's going to play somewhere. I don't know if it's Illinois or somewhere else, but Coach jumped right in with Harley Riz. Here's a guy who's 100-meter champion, just a speedster. So, if you need to replace Aaron Ball, it sounds like Harley Riz might be the guy to do it with.
Yeah, I know Adam, Coach Nissen. Thank you, Adam. Is really excited about Harley Riz, and I did put little asterisks by guys who would be on the all name team too. Harley Riz is one of them. Great
that's
name.
A good name.
Yeah, it's a good name for a guy who's fast too. Harley, right?
Right. Yeah. All right. So
who do you like, Joe?
Dan.
Yep.
Who do I like?
Who do you like?
Right. I like Montini in the White division, Dan, this year. I just think, with the returners they've got that were starters last year, I think they're returning maybe 10 or 11 on defense, another 7, 8, or 9 on offense. I think they're going to be loaded talent-wise, and I think they're going to be too much for the rest of the teams in the division to handle. Now, I did go back and forth between Martini and Carmel, because Carmel I feel the same way about.
Yeah.
But they play each other week 6, which will be a great game, I'm sure. A division game between Montini and Carmel. They also, Montini plays St. Lawrence, I think the last regular season game of the year. But Dan, I've got to go with Montini here this year.
That is my pick as well. And but Joe, it would not be crazy. Seriously, it would not be crazy to pick any one of these teams to win the division.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be we wouldn't be out on a limb picking any one of these teams to win the division. And again, this might be one that it comes down to, are there ties across, 3 teams like we saw in the division last year, and because of just how tough it is. So it really wouldn't be crazy to pick it. I also think the returning talent at Montini is going to give them an edge. Carmel's got a ton of returning talent too, but I just think I think Montini is really, really lined up for this group to have a lot of success this year. So yeah, my pick is Montini, with everyone else right on their tail.
Right. Which I think is going to be the case in every one of the divisions year that we talked about. It really could be. Yeah. All right. So White division going to be really interesting this year. Can't wait to see how it all plays out. Let's move to the Red division, Dan. We've got Marmion, De La Salle, Leo, Marion. Another good division. This is another one that's really hard to pick, right? Because you've got Marmion. They've got a new head coach, Adam Guerra. Yep. Got a couple of good players returning, all conference players from last year. They got a running back in Brian Scales. They've got another running back in Michael Roche. They've got another running back in Joey Favia. So it seems like they might be set there, but. You had a chance to see him play Bennett in this past Friday in the practice game. What were your kind of takeaway from Marmion?
The running game looks good, right? The running game looks pretty good. The running backs run really hard. They are good backs. They've got great feel. They're comfortable running between the tackles. And then once they get through, they can burst outside. They've got good speed, some big guys pushing people around. You had Mateus Nice out there, and I think Coach Garrett said they were going to think about putting him at tight end,
right?
I didn't see that. Maybe not showing everything because people are thinking about game one. That'd be very normal. For these coaches to do just like they do in the NFL, in the preseason, and maybe not show everything. But Coach did tell us this, so it is out there. We're not spilling anything, but he's a big guy. He's a big guy. You can tell and Coach also said they've got their offensive line is what I saw from Mateus Nice, perhaps, and then a bunch of fire plugs. They are as wide as they are tall, and so they did a nice job. They probably felt like they might have some work to do in the secondary. Coach said that they defensively, might not be where they're at week 6 in week 1. Right. And, maybe kind of saw that a little bit. Bennett's got some experience at quarterback and wide receiver group. So they had some success in that area where we kind of thought they might have some success. Looks like they've got some weapons on the outside. So Marmion looked really good. I liked they've got a quarterback derby happening. So, looking at a couple guys that are competing in Cam Tolliver and Vinny Testa. So I don't know if that was decided on Friday night or not, but I thought both teams looked pretty capable and like they were, a week away from being ready.
Yeah, and the next team is De La Salle that I was looking at, and they've got some decent returning players, right? We interviewed Coach Blackman, and he mentioned Caleb Navarro, who is one of his returning all conference players. Now, I think last year they played him all over, right? He was tight end. He played a little quarterback. He played some defensive line. But one of the things De La Salle, they lost 2 of their probably, key players on offense to transfer, right? They lost their quarterback. I think they lost a wide receiver, if I remember that right.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think Navarro this year is taking over at quarterback, at least if I remember what Coach Blackman said. So, they've got some significant changes probably happening within this program this year, and that's always tough, especially when you're going into the season, right? For the kids, to grow into kind of some new positions and some kids to step up, who maybe didn't get a ton of playing time last year and step up and make a positive impact or positive difference.
Yeah, and they'll rely on Josh Thornton and Jaden Wallace, Enrique Diaz at the old line. They got a really nice corner in Victor Lee. So they have some athletes. Their biggest concern, I think, will be numbers for them. Probably a lot of these guys may be playing two ways. So we'll have to watch that and see how if that's really the case for De La Salle. I think Joe, as we move through and look at like Leo, you're looking at something similar there too. So Neil Anderson and Nicholas Armour and Javon Logan all back, all division last year. But I think that some of these teams are going to have, at least at the start, until some guys get their varsity legs, under them. You're going to see a lot of guys maybe going two ways with some of these programs, just until someone else steps up. And I think Leo might be in the same boat there. I know they've got Derek Davis III coming back and Marshawn Durr. So they've got some guys who are more than capable, but we'll just have to see how often they're playing, how often they get some rest.
Right, exactly. And then you've got Marian Catholic, right? Who I think last year they won the Red Division.
Yeah, that's correct.
Correct, and they've really got only one, returning all-conference player, I think, in Ronnie Gordon, linebacker. But they've got some other key players coming back, and Zach Coleman, he's a defensive back. You've got Joaquin Mendez on the defensive line. Got a couple of running backs who hopefully are going to be able to step up and replace, the running back that they lost to transfer over the summer. So I'm sure from Coach Lopez's standpoint, he's hoping they don't even skip a beat, right? And going to this year is probably the favorites for the Red Division again, I would think.
Yeah, and you mentioned Ronnie Gordon, and he's a big time player returning. Zach Coleman's going to play at Indiana State, so he's a high level player. But it's interesting thing about this division is I don't know if there's any really established quarterbacks. Caleb Navarro at De La Salle is going to be moving position, so I don't know if they're how established they are across the board at quarterback. They might all have people who have had snaps, but that'll be interesting to see the quarterback play within this division. But yeah, for as far as I'm concerned, I think Marian Catholic is the favorite here. I see them as probably the ones to win this division. I think they've established something. They've got some good people back and good people in the pipeline. So, my pick for this division is going to be Marian Catholic.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. How about that?
Two for two.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm in on Marian Catholic too. I think they probably just have a little too much for the rest of the teams in the division, and are going to come away with at least another division title.
Yeah, I agree. But again, I think Marmion could surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Here I think they're probably going to get better and better as the season goes along. And Coach Garrett's figuring some things out, but Coach Lopez, has some pretty established things happening at Marian Catholic. So I think some of that experience, within the program is probably going to be the difference this year in the division.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to let's go to the purple division.
Purple. Dan. All right.
One of our favorite divisions again, right?
Yeah.
So we've got St. Viator, DePaul Prep, St. Patrick, and Bennett. It's going to be a tough division. I feel like all of these teams, when you're looking at them and looking at who they have coming back, as well as some of their experience and talent level, I think this is going to be a close division. Considering that.
Yeah, I agree. And we've talked about DePaul Prep a few times as being an up and comer. Bennett's got some good players returning. Ryan Kabaki from the other night, he looked good. He looked like Ryan Kabaki, and he had really good grasp of the offense. Is very, very athletic. Throws on the run very well. They also, they've got a really good D-line established with Liam Rooney as a returning all-conference player at Bennett, and Joe Rohde. Joe Rohde's going to play D-line for not the first time, but that's going to be a primary. He was primarily an offensive lineman previous to this. And then Declan Walsh will be he's a 3-year player on varsity and 2.5 years maybe, but as tight end and defensive end and also really athletic. So they've got a nice athletic front defensively. And, so they always seem to have capable wide receivers, and this year doesn't seem to be any different with Marty Radgowski and Luke Wilds. I think Coach Anu talked about the Lukes, that he has. Luke Doyle, he had a score the other night, and what they will be, what they're going to have to make sure is consistent as the offensive line. So Michael O'Rourke is back as a center, and they're going to be breaking in some new faces. I know Jack Sortino's back, but as a junior, but they were going to be breaking in some new faces on the offensive line. So Bennett has some things established, and then there's DePaul Prep.
Right. Yeah. And we both like DePaul Prep, and we've said this in previous episodes that we think they're a team or a program on the rise, right? And they've got some good returning players as well, all division players. They've got their quarterback coming back, which is always key, and Juju Rodriguez. They got their number one wide receiver, right? Brandon Peavy coming back. They've got big offensive lineman Dominic Bitts coming back as well, who was an all-division player. And then, Coach Passarella feels really good about some of the guys that are going to step in, like Nick Martinez, running back. Jet Reese, I think he talked about as
all-name guy. Another
linebacker.
DePaul Prep's full of all-name guys.
Right?
Great football names. Yeah, Jet Reese is one to watch. He's like cut out of a linebacker mold, and really is primed to have a nice year.
Yeah, so they're going to be a tough team to handle this year. I mean, they took some big steps last year. I think Coach Passarella even mentioned, their win over was at Fenwick in overtime.
Yeah,
last year they beat them, which was a signature win for them last year and a signature win for their program. So I think they're looking to take that next step this year.
Yeah, consistency would be the key for them, right? They had some big wins, they had some losses. They'd probably like to really play. They probably wanted to play the next day with a couple of the losses, and if they and belief, so they've got to believe they're as good as probably what we think they are to help take that next step. But I'm pretty confident they will. So
yeah, and then you've got St. Patrick. Right. And
St. Pat's is going to be something to watch.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. They've got some key players to watch. We talked to Coach Mertens in an earlier episode, and he's high on a lot of players. He's got Colin Hay as a quarterback. He's got Jack Harrington as a linebacker. A couple other players to watch: Leo Soriano, defensive back, Vince Curio, a wide receiver. I feel like, Coach said they played a lot of young guys last year, and they've now got a nice, season under their belts, and hopefully come back even better this year.
Yeah, and it's funny, I don't know if they were the only team, but they were one of the few that had all seniors as all division guys.
right
last year. So there'll be a lot of new names stepping up. And even though they've gotten a lot of snaps because they've been playing since they were freshmen, I know he really likes the offensive line. Connor Malinak and Matt Downs, Eli Valencia, I think you mentioned, but all O-line guys that have played it, I think 2 years. So this would be their third year playing varsity. That experience bodes really well for St. Pat's.
It sure does, especially on the line. That's always important.
Yeah.
And then the last team in the purple division is St. Viator.
Right.
Another team who has, they've got, I think out of all the teams in the CCL, maybe them and Montini might have had the most returning all-conference players.
Yeah.
St. Viator. And St. Viator has some really key positions, right? At the quarterback, obviously, they've got Cooper Komet. They got Davion Ellis, who they move all over, running back, wide receiver, a kick returner, who's just a really electric player. You've got your anchor on the offensive line and Ben Kanopka. Then you've got Jalen Slazechka.
I'm glad you take those names. Slachetka, I think, is what the coach said. Yeah. So and you're right. I noticed the same thing about St. Viator. Not only all division guys returning, but just perfectly placed throughout the team where you'd want them. You've got a high level experience on either side of the ball. In those good positions on every level. So they are loaded for I think a really good year. I think they're pointing to this year. They really like this group. And so I'll go ahead and say it, St. Viator is my pick for the purple. I think they are just too experienced and too good of too much. Their experience is good at every level. So that's the reason I'm gonna take St. Viator in this purple division.
Yeah, and I'm going with you again on this 3 for 3.
All right.
And
okay.
My pick is St. Viator as well for all the same reasons that you just rattled off. So, I think I saw somewhere that a couple other prognostikists. I'm having trouble talking tonight. Have picked Bennett as well to win this division. So,
we almost couldn't do that, right? I mean,
we can't do that.
We either do it because we're really loyal to Bennett, and look like total homers, or we do something else. People say, "Oh, you didn't pick Bennett just because you guys are from Bennett." So.
Right.
No, I feel pretty comfortable, but the division, Joe, is like every other division. Would you really feel, I mean, even St. Pat's that struggled last year didn't make the playoffs. I think they're pointing to this year too. I think Coach Mertens feels like these are his guys, and that he's ready for them to make their mark this year. So, you wouldn't be crazy by picking any of these teams to win the division. And I don't think there's going to be one that runs the table through the division, that goes 3-0 in the division. I think they will beat one another up, and it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out, at the end of the season.
Yeah. Well, every year there's some surprise teams, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if we necessarily picked a surprise team yet, Dan, but we'll see as we get through the other divisions.
All right.
Well, Dan, we were able to cover 3 of the divisions in this episode, the white, red, and purple. In our next episode, we will cover the rest of the divisions, the blue, green, and orange. Make sure you come back and listen in to hear all of our predictions and the key players to watch throughout the season. Don't forget to join us live this coming Friday for our Friday Night Blitz to get all the scores and updates from the games. Thanks for listening.